Hello, Chargers fans, and welcome to a special Christmas Eve edition of ChargersCast. ChargersCast is a podcast about everything about our beloved Los Angeles, formerly San Diego Chargers. It's by fans, for fans, so appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, talking about Chargers football. Let's get into it. This is going to be a short Christmas Eve episode, and so we're going to try and be brief but to the point and cover the topics we're here to discuss, which we're going to start out with Week 16 game in Dallas against the Cowboys, and then we will chat about the upcoming game this Saturday, afternoon game this Saturday the 27th. It's our last home game of the season, of the regular season, against the Houston Texans. So let's jump into it. Week 16 against the Cowboys. Beautiful win. We ended up winning the game 34-17. The first half of this game, I don't want to say it was discouraging, but it was a shootout. Back and forth. Offenses scoring, defenses not putting up much of a fight. I forget the exact halftime score. I think it was 17-14 Cowboys, or it may have been 20-17 Chargers. I did not note the halftime score, but it was pretty tight. I do remember specifically the Cowboys having 17 points in the first half, and the reason I remember that is because in the second half, Jesse Mentor in our defense finally figured out what they needed to do to put the kibosh on Dak Prescott and that pretty potent Dallas Cowboys offense, and they held them scoreless in the second half, which was awesome. We ended up putting up enough points, more than enough points actually, to pull out the win 34-17, like I said. Bottom line, especially in that second half, but I think a little bit even started to manifest itself in the first half, is how much we outplayed Dallas. At the end of the day, 34-17, beat them in total yards, beat them in first downs, third down conversions, which is near and dear to my heart. But another statistic you guys are used to hearing coming from me, which is near and dear to my heart, is time of possession. And once again, it was 35 minutes to 25 minutes, 35 minutes for the Chargers, 25 minutes for the Cowboys. I think most of that, not all of it, but most of that difference came in the second half. But I believe our drives were a little more time-consuming and sustained than theirs, even in the first half. But when you hold the ball on offense 10 minutes more than your opponent, there are so many positive things that can come out of that. Number one, your defense is rested. Number two, you're keeping their offense off the field, which, unless you're throwing pick sixes, means they're not scoring. Okay, so all kinds of positive reasons to pay attention to time of possession. It's not the end-all be-all. There are those teams that have the propensity to just score quickly, and they can outscore you in a shootout, but typically third down conversions affect time of possession. Time of possession affects the ultimate outcome of the game. We had 300 plus yards passing, which is awesome, and 150 plus yards rushing. So a great balanced attack. It's made a big difference having Omari and Hampton back. So we've had that 1-2 punch between Kamani, who's really stepped up when we needed him to, and then get him Marion back. And we did see a few rushes. Kamani ended up going down. I think he ran up the back of one of the interior linemen, whether it was our left guard or it was our center. I forget which one it was, but he ended up running up the back of one of our interior offensive linemen and ended up injuring his neck. So he was out the rest of the game. And so we saw an appearance by Haskins, which is probably not a bad thing. He had been out for a while as well, which is another reason Kamani had to step up. And so to get him in and get him some reps is probably going to bode well for us as we wrap up the last 2 weeks of the season and look towards the postseason. So another thing, we did not have any turnovers and we did not allow any sacks. Can you imagine that? We did not allow any sacks this game. Now, Justin got pressured, Justin got hit, but he did not get sacked. We'll take it. Knowing the O-line issues we've been battling ever since preseason when Rashawn Slater went down, we will take it, okay? Bottom line. So I want to go back to the bye week and the bye week episode, okay? That was an important time for us, and the bye came at a great time for us. We had just gotten our asses kicked by the Jaguars. We were licking our wounds, and I want to say we were 7-4, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, having just gotten whooped by the Jaguars on the road and coming back and going into a bye, you know, at 7-4, it felt like a bad 7-4 versus a good 7-4, and there is such a thing as a bad or a good 7-4. And I talked about that during that bye week podcast. But what I want to retouch on here is the things I discussed in that podcast are starting to become reality. They're coming to fruition. The things I talked about in that podcast, primarily, which is, hey, yes, it feels like a bad 7-4 because of how we got here and just coming off that Jacksonville loss. But let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. Number one, we started the season 3-0, and all three of those were division wins. Big positive. Number two, we're 7-4. Okay, we're not 4-7, we're 7-4, and we're at the bye week and we're getting healthy. But all of the goals that we had as a team and as fans were still attainable and ahead of us. That is making the playoffs, even if it's just a wild card, and potentially winning the division. Now, those things weren't going to come to being if we kept getting our asses kicked, being inconsistent, and losing games. But since the bye, we haven't lost a game, okay? We've got 4 straight wins. We got lucky coming out of the bye. We got the Raiders, which is a really good way to get right and come out of the bye and get that winning taste back in your mouth. But then we've had some tough games. We had the Eagles, we had the Chiefs, and now we just had the Cowboys. And those other two, they were the Super Bowl teams last season, and we beat them back-to-back weeks. And beating the Chiefs now has us undefeated 5-0 in our division, okay? So Harbaugh's got this team. They may not be the most talented team in the league, but it's not the most talent that typically wins the Super Bowl. It's the best team, and there's a lot that goes into that. Coaching is a major factor, and motivation, and will, and all of those things. That's why I talk about Harbaugh and the way he likes to win games, G-Row, mentor, and what works as you're getting ready for a playoff run. Defense and running game, okay? Those are things you want to pack in the winter games and in the playoff games. And those are the things that this team has been trying to build. So that bodes well, okay? Getting into the playoffs, winning division, and ultimately, we could get on a run like I talked about. The odds are against it, but we could get on a run and potentially be a Super Bowl contender, okay? That's not off the table. But taking a step back, first thing, get a get a playoff spot, even if it's just clinching for a sure wild card slot, having the division still available to us, and that's where we sit, right? So we've got 4 straight wins since the bye, and other than the Raiders, we talked about how this has been a gauntlet, okay? We've got KC. Yeah, their record sucks, but it's still KC. You can never take a division game and a team who has been in so many Super Bowls and Super Bowl appearances and won our division 9 straight seasons in a row. You cannot take them for granted. And got Patrick Mahomes quarterbacking the team. So we had the Eagles, we had the Chiefs, and we had the Cowboys. And so far, so good. We're taking care of business. And it appears we could be peaking at the right time, especially Minter getting our defense playing up to their ability and getting our running game revved up, especially with the offensive line issues we have. If we can run the ball more, that is, I think, matches our offensive line issues better. Our offensive line would be better served running the ball and being the aggressor versus passing the ball more and being more in a defensive posture where they're just trying to keep the pass rushers off of Justin. So lead with the running game, move forward, be the aggressor. And so I think that bodes well as we're working down this stretch here. So we are now 11-4. We've got 2 games left in the season, and the next game is against the Texans, who kicked our butt in the playoffs last season. The Texans are coming to SoFi. They are battling for a playoff spot and battling for their playoff lives, so they're going to be highly motivated. They have not had as good of a season as they had hoped, but the playoffs are still available to them, and they're going to come in highly motivated. They've got the top defense in the league, and the Chargers are no slouch. The Chargers are a top 3 defense, okay? So this is going to be a very interesting game. One thing I want to talk about before I get into the Texans game is how things unfolded this past weekend. So the Chargers beat the Cowboys, and for us to clinch a playoff spot, we needed certain things to happen. A Bills win, I think a Texans win. There were a couple AFC teams that had to win. Maybe as a Pittsburgh win over, was it Baltimore they were playing? Baltimore had to lose. But there were certain things that need to happen, I think, with 3 teams. And all those things happened. And then we needed a Colts loss on Monday night. And that was a toughie because, as we all know, our boy Phillip has come back. This is going to be his second game back, helming the QB position for the Colts with Shane Steichen. And it was going to be on Monday Night Football. And it's Phillip Rivers, right? How can us Chargers fans root against Phillip? So we needed the Colts to lose, and if they lost, then we had clinched a playoff spot, minimum, as a wild card. And so going into the Monday night game, as I was telling my wife, it's like, okay, here's the gig. Okay, we want Phillip to do well, but we want the Colts to lose. And they were playing the Niners, which are a very good team. And that essentially played out. Phillip had a really good game. 200-plus yards, several touchdowns, command of the offense. Clearly, he hasn't been throwing like he would if he was playing in it, as an NFL quarterback. So he's lost a little arm strength. His long ball is really not there. I mean, he can still chuck it a good 40, maybe 50 yards down the field, but it's probably not getting there with the same velocity. But man, he can still pick defenses apart, and he's the same Phillip, which is awesome to see. So there's no way you can root against Phillip. And so it was like, hey, let's root for Phillip to have a great game, but have the Niners just outplay the Colts without, Phillip having a horrible game. And that's essentially what played out. Ultimately, the Colts defense failed them. Phillip put up, plenty of points. The offense played pretty doggone well, but the Colts defense just couldn't stop the Niners. So the Colts ended up losing on Monday night pretty heftily, actually. Their defense just could not stop the Niners. And so we have clinched a playoff spot 2 years in a row, both first and second year under Harbaugh, Roman, and Minter. And so we're sitting at 11-4, guaranteed we're going to make the playoffs. And by the way, we've got 2 games left in the season, and we've matched our win total from last season. Who would have thought that when Rashawn Slater went down, that we were going to at least have an 11-win season again this season? I did, but, I'm a Chargers fan, and I'm a Harbaugh fan, and so I think Harbaugh can get more out of his players than maybe just what it looks like on paper. So I had us at least getting 11 wins this season, but it was going to be an uphill battle. And then when Alt went down, it's like, holy smokes, right? So here we sit. Theoretically, if we win out, and honestly, if we're going to win the division, we need to win out. And it's still in our sights. We can win the division over Denver because Jacksonville beat Denver this weekend. So Denver took that one game step back that we needed them to take to give us a shot at the division. But theoretically, we could be 13-4 if we win out, which, by the way, is exactly what my prediction was in the week before week 1. If you go back and look at that podcast, that's exactly what my prediction was for the Chargers this season, was 13-4. And it was one of those where I didn't necessarily pick all the games, but we could potentially end up there. Either way, it's a super successful season, at least 11 wins 2 seasons in a row, and the playoffs 2 seasons in a row. You got to get in the playoffs to ever have a chance to win the Super Bowl, right? And so Harbaugh, G-Row, Minter, those guys have got this team playing beyond their individual player talents, which is what good coaching is all about. So hats off to the Chargers, hats off to the coaching staff. Like I said, Denver got taken down a notch this weekend by Jacksonville, and so the division title is still up for grabs. And with these last 2 games to play out, here's the possibilities. Okay, if Denver plays Kansas City tomorrow on Christmas Day, Kansas City is without Mahomes because unfortunately we ended up knocking Mahomes out for the rest of the season. He, last 2 minutes of the game against us, he ends up tearing his ACL and his LCL and has surgery, and so he's out. Looks like Minshew, I haven't heard if he's starting this weekend, but he avoided a serious knee injury. But I'm not sure if he's going to be well enough to start this weekend. Bottom line, though, is the Broncos are playing a Kansas City team which isn't as good as they have historically been with Mahomes, but they're going to be playing a KC team without Mahomes. So a vulnerable KC team without Patrick Mahomes. I think we have to assume Denver's going to be able to pull out that game. even though it's a division game and on any given Sunday, right? So if Denver wins, we need to win this weekend so that that Week 18 game against Denver is for the division. If Denver wins and we lose next week, that Week 18 doesn't matter. Denver's going to win the division. If both of us lose, then Week 18 still matters, okay? And the division's up for grabs. If we win and Denver loses this weekend, then we still need to beat them in Week 18 to guarantee, with all the tiebreakers, to guarantee that we will win the division. If we tie them, I think we still have the head-to-head. But if we lose in Week 18 and we finish tied records, we would be 5-1 in the division. We won't have the head-to-head. That would be a tie. And so you're going to go deeper down, strength of schedule, all of that stuff, conference records, all of that. And I'm not sure. I haven't dug that deep to see if we finish tied with the Broncos and we've won one against them and they've won one against us. If indeed we get the AFC West, I suspect the first tiebreaker is going to be the division record. And if we're 5-1, I'm pretty certain that would clinch the AFC West for us. But we don't want to leave that up to chance. We want to win this weekend, and then we want to win next weekend and just take the division for us. And so it's right there in front of us. All right, so let's move on to the Texans game. Not a ton to talk about here, but things that the strategies, this is a tough team to beat. Their offense is not as efficient as it was a year ago. They've been struggling somewhat on offense, which is great. Bodes well for us. But their defense is still, they're the best defense in the league. They're still an exceptionally formidable defense at all levels. At their pass rushers, line of scrimmage, the middle of their defense with their linebackers, these guys fill holes and they hit. And probably much more vulnerable than, or much more violent and physical than Denzel Perryman, who happened to be suspended for 2 games this weekend, and we'll get into that right now. But this is going to be a tough game, and their secondary's top-notch with Stingley and those guys. So this is a defense that we have to take what they give us, try and establish a running game to protect Justin and grind the clock. So the game's this Saturday. It was flexed to this Saturday, so it's a Saturday game. It's the afternoon game, and it is a home game in SoFi. So all those things are good. They, I think, maybe give us a little bit of an advantage. It's a Saturday game, and it's in our home building, so they have to travel to us versus us traveling to them. Some injuries we want to continue to keep an eye on as we head into this game. And remember, it's a Saturday game, so we got one less day for these players to mend up and be available. First and foremost, Jamari Salyer, our new left tackle, finally. He was playing his 3rd start at left tackle this weekend against Dallas. He ended up going out with a hamstring, and Austin Deculus came in. Austin played a pretty good game, but it sucks to have Salyer go in. I mean, technically, 3 left tackles. I guess you could say 4 because Deculus was playing there, and then he went down. And anyway, it's been musical chairs at all those positions, but left tackle in particular. So Salyer's down. He's nursing a hamstring. We want to continue to keep an eye on that. If we had our way, we would rather have Salyer starting at left tackle. Again, the pass rushers for the Texans are formidable, and we need our best starters available from all of the folks we have available to us who aren't on IR. And so that also gets me to Trey Pipkin. He's been nursing an ankle, and we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Personally, I think Bobby Hart's a better option at right tackle. So we'll see how that plays out. But we would still love to have, if Pipkin's not starting, we at least still want to have him active and available. Man, we've been going through offensive linemen and various combinations like a turnstile. So that has me finishing up the old line with Becton. He's still nursing a knee, okay? And so we'll wait and see if Mackay is going to be active. I suspect he will. I think he's just nursing that knee and trying to get healthy. But, man, all season he's been in and out, in and out, in and out. Games, series, the whole bit. So like to have him available as well, especially if we need to establish the running game. And then not on an injured list, but just as an honorable mention regarding starting or getting our running game going is Trevor Penning. He has been kind of playing that Tucker Fisk role, which, by the way, that holding call last week on that run play was total BS. He did not hold. It was an incredible block. But he's been kind of playing the Tucker Fisk role as like a sixth offensive lineman / tight end H-back. And he's playing that role pretty well. And he's got a violent streak to him, by the way, which I love to see in an offensive lineman. So, excuse me, honorable mention there that they're finding a role for a big guy who's athletic, who's got a little violent streak in him. Kamani Vidal, as I mentioned, strained his neck, and no concussions or anything like that. So we want to continue to monitor that. We really want to have him available so we can maybe have a 1, 2, and 3 kind of man punch between Omarion, Kamani, and then Haskins. So continue to keep an eye on that. Tier Tart is nursing a groin. Definitely need to keep an eye on that. Tier is an integral part of holding down our defensive line and allowing our ends and our linebackers to do their job and play aggressive. And so we really need Tier to be available. There are some good guys in the rotation, but none of them are Tier. So definitely want to keep an eye on him as well. There's a few other players on the list, like Darius Davis. At the end of the day, Darius hasn't seemed like he's fully recovered when he is in there in the return role. Seems kind of tentative. So whether he plays or not, I'm not necessarily overly concerned. I think we've got some healthy players like KLS and Ladd, and Kamani's been playing back there. So they'd probably put Haskins back there if Kamani can't be back there. But want to keep an eye on that as well. So, and then last but not least, I just got to mention this. This is where my profanities come out. It's such bullshit, and the timing is totally suspect. These are the things that make you think the league could be rigged. Here we are sitting in week 16, and one of our best defensive players, Denzel Perryman, gets suspended for 2 games. Okay, he didn't even get thrown out of this last game. There was a penalty called. There was some helmet-to-helmet contact on a receiver who caught the ball and went down to the ground. And they did call the 15-yarder on Denzel. That's great. But the league suspended him for repeated offenses, which is complete BS. And so he's been suspended 2 games. He appealed the suspension, and it was upheld by none other than Jordy Nelson, a wide receiver. Like, what the hell do you think he's going to rule? He's a wide receiver, right? Of course he's going to rule that a linebacker hitting a wide receiver is too violent, because wide receivers typically are a bunch of you-know-what, prima donnas, and so it's just a complete joke. And so the NFL has taken away a tone-setting defender from Jesse Mentor and the Chargers with the last 2 weeks of the season and the division on the line. Total bullshit. But at this point, there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. But it's suspect, and the integrity of the league personally is in question when they make calls like this at this time of the season when it's questionable. Hey, if it's black and white, easy. This isn't black and white. Okay, he didn't have such a violent hit that he got ejected out of the game or anything like that. It was your classic personal foul. Okay, so these next 2 weeks, the league is just making it that much more difficult, as if it wasn't already difficult enough for the Chargers to win out and win the division. So it is what it is at this point. But I had to go on record as a Chargers fan. I've been watching this game a long time. You know, back in the days where Rodney Harrison used to, at the start of the season, he would set money aside because he knew he was going to get fined, because he wasn't going to stop playing the physical style of defense that he played. There's a reason he was the hit man. And you went over the middle, Harrison was going to make you pay, and he would pay the fines, but you weren't going to go over the middle against Rodney Harrison, period. And the NFL's not that anymore, unfortunately. Ronnie Lott's, Rodney Harrison's, Brian Dawkins, a little bit of Troy Polamalu, but not as much. It's not that league anymore. You basically blow on these guys, and the league's going to penalize you. So no Denzel this week. We're going to need TJF. We're going to need him to step up and bring that physicality that he got ejected for, which is total bullshit ejection, and he got fined for. He didn't get suspended, because I think the league realized he shouldn't even gotten ejected for that hit. But we're going to need Tony Jefferson to bring that violence, Derwin to bring that violence, and Troy Dye, Tier, Thule, all these guys, they're going to have to bring that tone setting that we're losing without having Denzel in there if we are going to win this game against the Texans in particular, because it's going to be a defensive battle, like I said. So they're basically, just, again, taking another key component away from us and saying, okay, now let's see if you can do it, Chargers. You've lost all of these other players, and we've tried everything to try and stop you, and yet you are still winning. So hats off to this coaching staff and the will and the hearts of these players. But we're going to need some people to step up and fill the hammer role that Denzel plays. Like I said, this is going to be a defensive battle. They're the top defense. We're top 3. Last year, we lost to these guys in the playoffs. Harbaugh, I guarantee you, he's not happy about that. Justin, guarantee you, he's not happy about that. Justin, I promise you, is so tired of hearing all of the critics about, Justin's this, Justin's that, but he can't win in the playoffs, the Jacksonville game and last year's Texans game. And so they're not talkers, they're doers. So this is an opportunity this Saturday against the Texans to prove that this team continues to take steps forward and become a better team to get to the promised land. So this is an important game, not just because we need the win to keep pace with Denver and potentially win the AFC West, but we've clinched a playoff spot, so we are playing in the playoffs. So this game's important to kind of set the tone heading into the playoffs, whether we're going in as a wild card or we're going in as the winner of the AFC West. And by the way, I'd much rather go in as the winner of the AFC West and guarantee ourselves at least one home game versus potentially having nothing but road games all the way through the playoffs, depending on the seeding of winners and losers. So, important game this weekend. Huge game for all kinds of reasons. Keys to this game, it's not complex, okay? Protect Herbert, run the ball, and play tough, aggressive defense. Shut down CJ in that offense. Protect Justin. Ball control, running game. Keep their offense on the bench. And obviously finish those drives. Ball control, get into the red zone, and get points. This game, I think, as a defensive battle, field goals are going to matter. One of the really cool things about Harbaugh that I've mentioned in previous pods is Harbaugh's not afraid to just take the 3 points. He realizes, especially later in the season, how important they are. He's got a kicker who's money. And so while Harbaugh's gone for it on fourth down multiple times this season, and at best I want to say, I haven't looked up the stat, but we're probably maybe 50-50. Harbaugh's not one of those new school coaches who believes you go for it on fourth down 95% of the time. Nah, he's been around the league a long time. He's been playing football for a long time, and he knows, especially this time of year, take the 3 points. So if this is going to be a defensive battle, 3 points, it's probably going to come down to 3 points or less. I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't. And so protect Herbert, run the ball, bring your physical, violent defense. That is the recipe for us to get out of this game with the W. So there you have it, Bolts fans. We want to keep this win streak alive for a bunch of reasons and that I've just gone over. But ultimately, we want this Week 18 showdown against the Denver Broncos to be for the division. Either way, it's going to be a huge game because we could end up sweeping the division, go 6-0. Even if everything works out where we're not going to win the division, we can still sweep the division if we beat Denver, even if we don't win the division. And so Week 18 is going to be meaningful regardless, but ideally we would love it to mean winning the AFC West and sweeping the division. And that's still on the table for us, but we got to get past the Texans this weekend. So, all right, Bolts fans, that is the shortened Christmas Eve edition of ChargersCast. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, talking Chargers football. It's been a good season. Like I've told you before, sit back and enjoy these games as Chargers fans. We've been through some really drought periods, and to have Harbaugh coaching up this team and getting them playing beyond their capabilities, I think, or at least to the very peak of it, playing as a team, getting these wins, it's great to be a Chargers fan right now. So as is tradition with ChargersCast since day one, when Harbaugh took over the Chargers, you know what time it is. Chargers fans, Bolt fans, who's got it better than us? Seriously, nobody. And so have a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully you spend a great Christmas with your loved ones, your family, your friends, and get ready to bolt up this Saturday for a super meaningful game at home against the Texans. How awesome is it? We're playing meaningful football, winning football in December with playoff implications. It doesn't get any better than that. So bolt up. We'll see you next week here on ChargersCast, where we will do a recap of this Texans game and talk about what is still on the table for Week 18 as will be going to Denver to play the Broncos. Bolt up. We'll see you next week on ChargersCast. Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us? Nobody.